Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another video of today's World of Figures. And today, I got a special treat for you guys. I have SS Figuarts Cooler Final Form, but this one is the 40th Anniversary Reissue Edition. But I also have my original cooler that released back in 2021. So in this review, I want to go over a few things that I discovered and also review, not only some comparisons of the original, but just how well this original is held up, but also the articulation and how well this figure is put together as far as its reissue for this year. So let's get on with it. Okay, so I have the new 2025 reissue cooler on the left, and on the right I have my original, again that released from 2021, and I left the protector sleeves on there because I'm going to eventually put this guy back in the box. This one I have on display, but I do want to start out. We'll get to the packaging, a little bit later in this video. But one thing I wanted to really let you guys see for yourselves, and also what I noticed was there is slight discoloration on the new cooler here. I didn't pick it up at first when it first came in, but upon close inspection, let me bring these guys closer so you guys can see in the camera here. Yeah, I don't know what happened during production of the new one compared to the old one, but it's like I don't know if they use maybe a slight different type of plastic, coloring plastic, but now of course the one on the right, like you can tell there's like a slight color difference between the I guess they call this the hip joint here and the thigh, but it blends in really well. Even when it comes to the abdomen and the center part here, little triangle part here, where the legs connect, and it's just let me turn to the side here so you guys can see a little careful, but yeah, especially when you have this guy in hand, it's more noticeable. Like even the knee joints, like it's just slightly different purple. Not to get me wrong, like this does not hurt the figure at all, but even the feet, like the feet are slightly off. It's like I'm not sure what's going on here. There's a lot more things I want to show you guys too that I noticed, but I mean that was kind of like the biggest thing for me. And even the back of the tail here. Now, I didn't put the tail in this one. I'll show you guys the tail here in a second here. But even where the tail connects into the back of the figure, like this one's slightly off. I don't know why they did that. I'm not sure why. I mean, maybe materials have changed in the past 4 years. I'm not sure. But, that's what I was telling you guys, in my earlier videos, that a lot of times when they do these freaking reissues or the event exclusives and things like that, sometimes the reissues are slightly different than the old ones. Sometimes they fix like joint issues, like clearances, things like that. Maybe the original issue was a little loose or whatever it may be. And then sometimes you find it where like the colors are a little bit different. It's like I thought I was getting the same figure. I mean, you're getting the same figure. Let me correct myself there. You're getting the same figure, but it's like you would expect, you would have the same colorations and things like that. But yeah, I'm not sure. And another thing I want to point out, I thought maybe it was the location when this thing was produced. No, this guy was produced in Vietnam at the Vietnam factory, and so was this guy. So I don't know. Another thing I want to point out that I noticed too, like the armor pieces here, they're like a different shade of white than what the original cooler was. And I've seen guys do reviews of their coolers, but it's like, and don't get me wrong, I know everybody's excited for this figure, but it's like, first of all, this guy was $90. when this cooler came out from P Bandai, it was 80 bucks, and of course they're going to charge, I guess, an extra $10 for the stand that I'll show you guys in a little bit in the video too. But for the amount of money that we spend on these figures, especially as collectors, right? And this is just my gripe here. I would just expect consistency. That's my thing. I guess that's my point I'm trying to get across here is consistency. You know, I'm not gonna point out any particular YouTuber or anything like that, but I have noticed there's just a lot of people they get these figures, they haven't had the original, and that's fine too. You didn't have the original, you don't have anything to compare off, but it's like you get the figure, you spend all this money, and you notice like these inconsistencies. Like even if you didn't know that this one was a little bit darker, you can still see the slight discoloration in the legs here. I don't know if you can see a little bit more now the light's hitting a little bit better, but you can still see light discoloration in the plastic here in the legs than what it was for here. So it's like that's gonna kind of affect, like your photography and things like that, and where you're posing this guy or in certain lightings. And of course, this doesn't bother some people, but another thing I want to point out, like on the secondhand market, scalpers are going to try to charge you for sometimes double the amount. So sometimes you're looking at $150, $200. This guy over here is going for the same price as this reissue. So, for you guys, for your money, it's like, why would I want to spend $150, $200 of my hard-earned money on something that looks discolored when I can go back and get the original, or the first issue that came out in 2021, and it just, to me, it looks better. If this was a cheaper figure, like a budget figure or something like that, I'm not even gonna say they can get away with this, but it's just not cool to us as consumers that it's like quality is dropping and they just expect us to pay for this. And of course, I bought this because I wanted to see if they were going to actually um, continue with the consistency. And it's like I've noticed that Tamashii Nations, and I love this company. Like I spent a lot of money on these figures. I have, like, as you guys saw in my very first video, I have a lot of figures that I collected over the years. So I'm a huge fan. But it's like, as a fan, I would just like to have better quality figures. I personally have noticed that maybe quality is dropping. I don't know if there's just a lot of care that's being, brought into this. I'm not sure what's going on, but the fact that it's different shading, the plastic and things like that aren't the same. And this guy is even a little bit looser. That's another thing I want to point out. Sorry, I'm going on this little rant here, but this is kind of why I'm making the video in the first place. Because some people get these guys as sometimes sponsors, or they get them in, early, and they just like they give these freaking biased reviews. And it's like, I love Cooler. I love this guy. I love the movie. I love the movie. So as a Dragon Ball fan myself, I want this guy to be represented as best as possible. Had to take a breather there. But yeah, you know, even though the joints are a little bit looser than this one here, it's like you can tell they kind of slacked in a few areas and things like that. But articulation, the overall quality of the figure itself is still good. I'm not gonna gripe about that. Um, range is still good. The face plates are still good. I'll show that too. It's just when it comes to that, we've seen countless times where we put our pre-orders in for a figure that we expected, and it's like the first time it's coming to release, and it comes with freaking QC issues, and it's just not fair. Some people look over it, like I said before. Some people look over it because they're excited that they got the figure, but it's like, again, that's not fair. But rant over, guys. Rant over. Let's get back to the actual figure review. All right, so I do want to touch on the box itself. Now, it is technically the exact same box that we got with the first release, The only thing that's really changed is the naming convention they use. Because a lot of times, whenever they do a P Bandai web exclusive, there are technically no re-releases or anything like that. They won't put the exact same figure for release on there. But I guess they figured themselves out of this loophole by just doing slight name changes there. So instead of just Cooler Final Form, which is on the original box, we now have the Cooler Final Form 40th Anniversary Reissue Edition. They actually did this with the Vegito Blue from the Broly Super movie. At the bottom here, you have the American Toy Animation sticker and the 40th anniversary logo here. And as I mentioned before, they actually have the Bandai Spirits made in Vietnam. Of course, it's always going to be designed in Japan, but this is what kind of caught my eye too. My little rant earlier, guys, was like, okay, was it made in a different factory? No, it was made in the exact same factory as the original. And yeah, that's going to bug me. So it's like quality is dropping again. But yeah, over here, you still have the exact same picture they had in the original. Even on the side here, we turn the box. You still have the cooler final form, and they've added the 40th anniversary reissue edition there. You still have your instructions in there. Take the instructions out. And I'm being very careful with this box because I plan on putting the 40th anniversary figure back in the box and just put them on my shelf. Well, on top of my display case. Here's the instructions for you guys. Put that back in the sleeve. Careful with the tape here. But yeah, on the back, they've actually kind of switched up the pictures just a tad. Instead of it just being Cooler, the figure himself on the main picture here, they've added in the stand that comes, well, the display base that comes with this figure. I wish they could have included at least not only the base, but at least a stand to prop this guy up. But hey, they used to come with a lot of accessories back in the day. I'm not sure why they don't, but hey, it's like you can't. I don't like to say you can't complain, but it's almost like you can't ask for too much anymore. But yeah, you still have the different pictures of the figure in poses. Got that Bandai logo, here and here, letting you know this is official. Another guys, I want to point you guys out because there's been a lot of bootleg boxes out there. If it doesn't have the official toy animation sticker, which is going to be the silver one here for the US. There's the gold one for Japan, and there's another one that's for the other region. You also have the Dragon Ball Z logo. Guys, this P Bandai exclusively has the P Bandai logo on it. Tamashii Nations logo on it as well, and Force Bandai. And also, now they started putting on. They've always had the Tamashii Nations seal on it, but this is another giveaway if you have an authentic SS Figuarts figure. If it has that quality seal here, yeah. All right, guys, let's move on to the accessories now. All right, guys. So here are the accessories. He's a pretty big figure. Doesn't really come with really a lot, honestly. He comes with a different head scope that you can actually put his top headpiece there on that head scope there. Comes with, looks like 5 additional hands on top of the 2 he already has on there, the closed fist. I say 5, this I can't count. It's 6. So a total of 8 hands here in the packaging. Another set of feet here for when he's like gripping a rock and things like that, or perched up like Frieza would do sometimes. And the tail, of course, that on my old, well, I'll say old, my original cooler, it's already attached there. It goes in the back here. That camera for you guys to see, just like that. And then yeah, it's got 2 points of articulation, so you can rotate this guy around, and get some extra bit of posability with it. I do like that they did that. Yeah, as far as accessories, that's pretty much it inside of the packaging. But I guess that additional $10, that $90 price tag, got it did come with this really nice 40th anniversary base that's purple in representation for cooler. So that's edition. I'm not gonna open it again. I'm gonna leave this all in the packaging and things like that, and put it back in the box, put it on display. But yeah, that's what you get here. Alrighty, guys. Before I do wrap up this video, there are a few more things that I want to talk about with this figure, and I, me personally, it just seems like a lot of people when they do figure reviews, they don't really go in depth. And again, I get the excitement. I get the excitement, but it's like, a lot of us, we're collecting these, right? We're collecting these in our display cases and things like that, and we want consistency. One thing I noticed about these two coolers, especially with the original, even when it came to the top of the, I don't even know what to call these things. I'm just gonna call them like the blue jewels, or little plastic, blue plastic caps, or pretty much little armor pieces that he has on his calves and things like that. The one on the new, it is. Let me get the camera right here. It is a slightly different blue than the original. And one thing I noticed is, and it's hard to tell, very hard to tell. Like this one on the new one here on my left hand, it's left side. The new one is just a slight lighter blue than the original. And what I liked about the original is, even though it was slightly darker, the original had a slight fade into the blue up top, slight fade in. And I thought, I was like, am I going crazy? Or is I'm just paying too much attention to the figures? And no, no, I'm not. It's like, again, it's like, I don't know if they're cutting corners from what they did years ago. Maybe it was costing too much. I do not know, because I don't know anything about how they produce this stuff. But it's almost like it's just one solid piece. And again, you know, and I'll leave this up to God. I'll leave this up to you guys. If you want the brand new reissue, hey, more power to you. It's your money. You buy what you want. But if I did not have a cooler final form at all, and I found out about this, because a lot of times before I even purchase a figure, I like to do a lot of research, and I will personally watch reviews so I can know what I'm getting myself into before I even make the purchase. Because these things are expensive. This is an expensive hobby. I would personally buy the original. I personally don't really see a point in buying the reissue, especially if I can get the original for about the same price. Same price, man. Even with the stand, it's like, if you want the purple base that comes with the reissue, fine. More power to you again. To own that version. But as far as accessories, the accessories are the same. I just did not like how it's like they cut corners in the plastic, in the molding. It's like it's just a different color. It's like, and this is the first time I personally seen that, where it's like there's inconsistencies like that. But especially for the money, like I'm putting emphasis on the money part because it's a lot. But you know, overall, even though I'm giving you guys my little gripe here, because it really did kind of bug me a little bit. But overall, even with the color issues there, the price these figures are going now, he's cooler. This figure is still, I'm gonna say, one of the best figures in the SS Figuarts line for Dragon Ball. It's definitely one of the best. is still, in my opinion, a solid 10 out of 10. The articulation is really good. The modeling is really good. Like it's it's like they took Cooler out of the anime, and here you are. You know, it's just an amazing figure. I don't want to take that away from what this figure is just because I'm griping about the plastic color and things like that. That's just that's me being honest about this review, an honest comparison as a first of all as a consumer and a collector. Like this is I'm not getting sponsored for this video. This is my hard-earned money that I'm spending on these figures as I'm doing this review. Like this is me being straight up about this. So again, if you this is you guys honest opinion on this, if you guys prefer the reissue, especially with it coming with the base, you know hey, go for the reissue if you don't mind the legs being slightly different color and the body itself being a little more loose. Like it's not as tight as the original. But if you want consistency, you want to me, in my opinion, a better looking figure overall without the color um, mismatching there, go for the original because these guys are hovering around the same price. Yeah, same price. But yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go. I just wanted to make this video on Cooler, especially since I've had this guy in my collection for 2.5 years now. Yeah, I've had him in my collection 2.5 years now. And another thing I want to say, like I see the other figure reviews that I do, is this guy is, excuse me, has held up quite well in my collection. Even his time hanging out in the open, I say out in the open, but in my living room, where I used to have a lot of my figures out here before I moved them to my cabinet. Um, there's no paint chipping. Don't get me wrong. I've had my fair share of this guy toppling over and falling off the top shelf. That's why I'm glad I got my display case. There's no real damage. He's really sturdy. The quality is really good. Um, I can't speak for the new guy. Only time will tell how long he'll hold up. But I'm sure if you, like I explained before, you take great care of your figures, make sure you wash your hands before you do touch them. Or even if you don't wash your hands, just make sure your hands aren't too oily or dirty and things like that, because it does affect the paint and the shading. Um, just make sure that you're just being careful in handling this guy, and he'll hold up. Um, Before I do go, there's one more thing I want to touch on, and that I said it myself. It was the shading. The shading is slightly different, not too much. I do feel like I say the new, I do feel like the new Cooler, it's like, I don't know, it's like they just kind of splashed on I guess you call it panel lighting or just the shading in general on the figure. In some places, it's just, I don't know. It's like they just kind of just have done this. Like they just threw this together, to take our money. And I'm going back to this, but again, this is just me being honest about this. Like it's like there was more care. There was more care in the old release than there is the new. That's all I'm saying. But until the next video, guys, y'all take care. Talk to you later.